Scanning for audio.
Welcome to Dice Dad number 3. When I left you last time, I was learning the combat system and the magic system. Now, I've done some research and read some more PDFs online. I realised I would need some sort of DM's screen, so what I did was I had a plastic folder and some bulldog clips that allowed me to attach everything together so that I could hide my notes. From Ryman's, I bought 2 exercise books, one for me and one for my wife and daughter, in order for them to draw the map as they went. They're great at doodling and filling in things and writing down interesting facts. I'd managed to track down an extra few sets of dice so that they could have one and I could have one. Well, alright, 4. I wasn't going to skimp. These dice used to be incredibly expensive. You can get a full set for like £1.50 now. It's brilliant. I couldn't believe how cheap some things were, and I also couldn't believe how expensive some other things were. Things like the Dungeons & Dragons Cyclopedia. Oh my God. What this book is a collection of every single one of the boxed set guides. Now, in the 80s, this is the 80s, a Dungeons & Dragons set would cost you a tenner. That's the equivalent of something like 40 quid these days. It was something you really had to strive for. Hence the reason that I photocopied mine. I never truly owned a first edition of Redbox Dungeons & Dragons set until this year. I am definitively behind the times. So I'm sat there with my rulebooks. Now the Cyclopedia is all 4 and some of book set 5, which would have cost you, 50 quid back in the 80s, available in one hardback book with all of the rules cleaned up and made to fit together. Basically, if you've ever really played this, you can have the Cyclopedia and you can look up all of the rules in one go. They published them all in one big book in about 1995, something like that, just before they stopped doing Dungeons & Dragons and moved on to the 4th and 5th editions. The 5th edition is the game that you can play these days and you can track down. That's not a cheap piece of kit, but it is a very different game. It has its heart in the same place, but out I've read of the descriptions elsewhere, it is a very different game. So we're sticking with the red box edition. This Cyclopedia, and I must admit, and I'm not telling you to go and find this, you can find the PDF for the Cyclopedia, not encyclopedia. If you are inspired to become another Dice Dad and introduce your kids to role-playing, it's a great place to start, because every single rule is out there and it is free. I don't know if that is a legitimate version or not, but you can find it, and it's all the rules you'll ever need. But of course, that's not an advert. I'm just saying I'm sure you can find it out there. I'm sure you can find PDFs of all sorts and read them on your iPad like some strange quasi-futuristic space lord. Because let's face it, in the 80s, if someone showed you an iPad, you'd think they were a god. Or at least someone from another world. And by iPad, of course, I mean Samsung Tab 4. There's no way I'd possibly ever buy Apple products. Oh, I dig it, Apple. If you're playing the Tin Dog Podcast drinking game, have a drink now. That's not important. What is important is that we were ready. I had my adventure, I'd created characters for them, I'd created non-player characters. It's a thief. Now, I don't like the word thief because my daughter, being 7, goes, thieves are bad. But the character class is great. Have you tried explaining what a cleric or a priest is to a kid who goes to a Church of England school? That's going to be a nightmare. Oh, they worship our god. It's just going to be weird. Healer, you can get away with. Magic healer, fair enough. So cleric who worships strange gods owned by other people, that's about as far as you're capable of getting. So I was leaving cleric until we'd played the games a bit, which of course meant that I had to get some, because let's face it, clerics are a bit rubbish anyway. All they're really useful for is healing. Now once they're higher level, fair enough, but then they become like bishops and all sorts, and that's just odd. So you've got to have a balance. So for my daughter, who's the magic user, trainee, I decided that her magic user teacher was going away for a few days, and I'm going to introduce that back in the future as a kidnapping rescuer thing or something really convoluted that we're going to come back to when she doesn't come back to the elf village. So she's been left in charge with 3 healing potions, thus negating the need for a cleric on the party. We've got a fighter and we've got a magic user and we've got some healing powers. You'll need a thief in order to get in and out. Now, in The Hobbit, we got round using the word thief by using the word burglar. I also didn't really want any halflings hanging around just yet, although I did manage to track down some very nice, almost Lego Hobbit figures which look brilliant. So we sat down to play. I did a variant on the original thing. Now I decided to keep the gaming sessions down to about an hour and a bit, in order not to let our daughter's concentration wander. You can have a laugh, and boy did we laugh. I'd forgotten how much fun it was. My wife did ask if it was different playing between, with your family, with kids, versus playing with a load of boys. Because let's face it, that's what we did. And the answer is no, it wasn't. We laughed. We still thought things were funny. Admittedly, moments like my daughter wanting to apologise to the rats when we killed 2 of them before we moved on to the giant speaking wall with orange mouth that give you the question, what comes next? O, T, T, F, F, S, S. What's the next letter? And if you don't know, I'll leave that one with you. You can figure it out yourself. It's not particularly challenging. My 7-year-old did work out the answer, so that's not important. We had a great session, and you know what? I'm sure we'll be playing again. We've got a whole dungeon to go. And with this, I'm going to get all the way to the end of this huge dungeon where there'll be a massive fight. Because what enticed them there was they had a dream that someone in a cave was calling to them asking for help. They'll eventually find a queen or a princess asleep next to a dagger. They'll work out that they give the dagger to the dead body. It wakes up the dead body. And then her sister comes down the stairs and they have a fight. Whose side will the team be on? I don't know. Now, I am going to do it that they are sisters. There isn't a good character and an evil character, and they're not 2 people at war, which is what it will seem like. The survivor, the victor, whichever one of the sisters it is, because I've done them both as NCPs, quite high-level magic users, will get them, which will get the rest of the team. That's the thief that they found bleeding to death, my wife and my daughter's characters, the elves, the magic elf, the fighter elf, to go on a quest for something or other and take her with them. So we'll have an adventuring party, or send them on a mission. Whichever one wins will become the primary one. It's kind of a moral decision. It's not a trick, it's not magic, it's nothing like that. So that's where we'll be going with this. But that's the other end of the dungeon. Until then, we've got goblins and skeletons and rust monsters to deal with. And for that, I'll keep you informed. So for the moment, this is Dice Dad signing off, and hope you're enjoying your summer. So until next time, be seeing you. On the 3rd of September 2016, Hooverville 8 will be with us. Possibly the friendliest convention in the whole of the UK. This year's guests include, but are not limited to, Kai Owen from Torchwood, Michael Jason from Doctor Who, the Valiard himself, Katie Manning, Joe Grant, Eric Sayward, Sophie Aldred, good old Ace, and Matthew Dale. For more information and to book your ticket, visit the Derby Quad website, www.derbyquad.co.uk, derbyquad.co.uk. That was the Doctor Who Tin Dog Podcast, available on iTunes, YouTube, Twitter, RSS, Vimeo, and across the internet. Doctor Who and its associated properties are all copyright and trademark of the BBC. No infringement is intended. Why not become a supporter by visiting patreon.com/tindog. Contact the show on tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk. The Tin Dog Podcast is a founder member of the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance.